So since I did the first of these clips, I kept thinking how it will be difficult to keep that, keep it up and do this on a regular basis. It's actually the contrary. I feel like I have so much to talk about. Today I would like to tell you something about a personal hero of mine that is what I believe in a certain way the greatest human that ever lived, that hardly anybody knows. It's a mathematician by the name of Kurt Gödel. He was born in the year 1908 and he died in something 1979, something like this. And he did something that is unheard of. To me, he is the Prometheus of humanity of all times. And just in case your your knowledge on Greek mythology is not that big, Prometheus was the one who took the fire from the heavens and brought it to the humans, which he was punished for. But the thing is about Gödel. Gödel was a mathematician. He was a genius. He was regarded by Einstein as an equal genius. He was a difficult person. He was paranoid. He was difficult to deal with. Overall, his colleagues loved him and couldn't deal with him. It was a funny thing. At a certain point when Gödel was in Princeton together with Einstein, Oppenheimer and Einstein took him to the US Customs Service because he was applying for citizenship. And they told him, Kurt, you don't say a word, you shut up. But the clerk there, who knew, of course, Einstein and Oppenheimer, he was kind of a little talkative and not talkative, he just asked friendly questions, how he was and blah, blah, blah. And Kurt Gödel started talking about, and the clerk kind of asked him about the US Constitution and how lovely and how great. And Kurt Gödel started pointing out that there is a logical flaw within the US Constitution that could make it possible that there is a dictatorship in the US just because of this flaw. And the clerk got a little was puzzled, and Oppenheimer and Einstein quickly brought this to an end and made him shut down so nobody would get his citizenship, which he finally did. The thing is, let me tell you what Kurt Gödel did and what makes him the Prometheus in my view. He studied mathematics. He comes from Brno and he studied in Vienna. By the way, I lived in one district, and it so happened that on both sides of the small street was a kind of a marking on the wall. One memory plaquette for where he had studied and the other where he had lived. So I found it out accidentally. It's not my passion didn't start with him because I found it out. It was the other way around. I found out after my passion started that actually I lived very close where he had spent quite a substantial part of, a very important part of his life. So the thing was, in the early 20th century, there was the most important mathematician of the world was a man by the name of David Hilbert. And he had founded what's called the Hilbert program. And he said there are about 20 problems in mathematics. If we solve these, mathematics sails forever. We just have to solve out these 20 problems, and mathematics is on solid ground, and and everybody expected it would be anyways. All of this was before quantum mechanics, all of this fuzziness and craziness. Where it was this kind of the 19th century belief that we with science and with technology we can solve everything, and humanity is just on this wonderful trajectory to understanding everything. And the world is basically, the universe is a big machine. We just have to find out the mechanics, blah blah blah. Of course, it was shattered by relativity. It was shattered by quantum mechanics, but it was especially shattered by 27 pages written in the early 1930s by Kurt Gödel. Because one of the problems of the Hilbert program he tried to tackle is to prove that mathematics is complete and consistent. And he tried that. That's what he was set out to do, but he couldn't. And then he thought, okay, if I cannot do that, just for the fun of it, I try to prove the opposite. And he did. And so what he did on these 27 pages, I have them on my iPad, and Kurt Gödel, he published 90 pages, a little more than 90 pages in his entire life, because he was so crazy about quality that he didn't want to publish anything that he was not totally certain of. So under these 27 pages, he proves that mathematics can never be complete and consistent. It's either not complete or it's not consistent, meaning there will be always truths that we cannot prove mathematically. So mathematics knows it's true, but it cannot prove it, which totally shattered the belief of mathematics until then, because proving and truth was the same thing. Now you might say, okay, there's mathematics, who the fuck cares? But if you think about it, currently, especially with AI, basically all our science, all our knowledge today is based on math. The way we're finding new particles in the Large Hadron Collider is we first calculate where they should be, and then we find them. So the whole thing, mathematics is left, right, and center of our knowledge. And there is one mathematician who kind of proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that it can never be complete and consistent. And the interesting thing about this, for me personally, is that it's when we kind of have this debate about atheism, for example. It's a funny thing, because they always play the science card. They never mention things like this, that we know in all of this that there is something fundamentally wrong with the understanding we can understand everything. And there's one more thing to this, and that is, actually it's two more things. That's actually the most wonderful of it all, maybe. But the first is, what Gödel did is a mathematical proof. Now, the important thing is, and I was not aware of this until a couple of years ago, when we're talking about general relativity by Einstein, for example, or quantum mechanics, these are theories. They are theories, and they're confirmed by observation. And quantum mechanics is confirmed by more observations than any other theory ever in history. But then there is a fundamental difference between a theory and a proof. And the theory, for example, you probably heard the term black swan. Now, a black swan, basically until we discovered Australia, everybody thought there are only white swans. And all of a sudden, you're going there are black swans. So nobody expected there could be a thing like this. Or when you think about Newton's law of gravity, and nobody expected anything to. This was confirmed and confirmed and confirmed until in the early 20th century, Einstein came up with his theory of relativity, and later on that was confirmed. It basically shattered what Newton had thought the world looks like. So it's just Newton is right, but only in a certain part of when speeds are low and things like this. But the important thing is, Gödel's incompleteness theorem is not a theory. It's a proof. This will stand out at the end of time, and long after we maybe have disproven quantum mechanics or relativity, because it's a mathematical proof. And the crazy thing about it, he proved it with mathematical means, because he actually, this stroke of genius, he made mathematics talk about itself. Now, if you think about it, AI and everything we're talking about, it's basically mathematics. This is algorithms, however smart about it, it's algorithms. And there is this fundamental thing in there that Gödel threw in there that was, yeah. And by the way, I have the fantasy that no, that's for another clip. But I wanted to say the second thing that is maybe the most moving of all. Now, Gödel, as I pointed out, was paranoid. He was a genius, and he had a troubled mind. It made him difficult to work with and difficult to live with. And he had one love in his life, that was Adele. She was a dancer. She actually, where I lived in the 8th district in Vienna, very close by, there was a theater where she was dancing and where they met. And Adele, they were married for all their lives. And at the very end, there was a time when Adele was getting sick. They were both in their 70s already. She was a bit older than him. And she had to go to the hospital. And she told him over and over, you have to eat. You have to eat. And a few weeks later, Kurt Gödel was hospitalized, weighing 29 kilograms in Princeton. And he died there, starved. Because this biggest of women, the love of his life, was not there to feed him anymore. And there's this beautiful tragedy about this. And as well, the fact that he's There are many bigger names in science. I think he should be the biggest. And how human is that story? And I would like to end this. I always try to probably end this clips with a picture, and this one, it's the most peaceful one that I think I ever did, and it's kind of my. First, I show you this. Yeah, so this is kind of the most peaceful one that I think I ever did. Always have to check that you already really see this. That's not so easy with the phone holding it like this. But I have to add one more thing, and that is, I wanted to make a film about him, a short film, 10-15 minutes, outside of Vienna in a field. And I would like to shoot this with a friend of mine. And I will add at the end of this video, I will add on the very right, you see that's Kurt Gödel. And on the left, that's my friend Levan. It's one of the things I wanted to do for ages. Thanks for your time.